You are standing in front of the mirror. Today is a very special occasion. Perhaps a date, a big party, or an important meeting. You are wearing your best clothes. You have groomed yourself, and now, before leaving the house, there is just one last thing to do. You pick up a beautiful, heavy glass bottle from the dressing table. It is an expensive perfume, perhaps a Chanel, Gucci, Dior, or Tom Ford. You close your eyes slightly and spray that nozzle on your neck, your wrists, and your chest. A cold mist touches your skin. The very next moment, the air around you changes. A magnificent, rich, and intoxicating scent of lavender, jasmine, sandalwood, and musk fills your mind. You take a deep breath. You feel fresh, you feel attractive, and you feel completely ready. In today's world, perfume signifies cleanliness, romance, status, and luxury. But wait for a second. Stay right there, and while breathing in that fragrance, consider this. What if I told you that the liquid you are spraying on your body to feel clean and attractive was not born out of cleanliness or romance? What if I told you that this multi-million-dollar perfume industry is the offspring of the most horrifying, disgusting, and foul-smelling era in human history? The truth is that perfume was not invented to spread a pleasant fragrance. It was invented to hide the stench of death and the rot of the human body itself. On paper, applying perfume is a very strange and biologically absurd act. Just think, we are the only creatures on this earth who hate our natural scent. In the animal kingdom, smell is like an ID card. A lioness recognizes her cubs by their scent. A wolf smells its partner's pheromones from miles away. No animal rolls around in rose flowers to hide its scent. Smell means you are alive, you are healthy, and you are a part of this nature. But humans wake up every morning, scrub their skin with chemical soaps to erase their own scent, and then spray the extract of flowers or the rust, juice of glands of other animals on their necks. We do not want to smell like humans. We want to smell like a walking garden or whale vomit. This is not natural behavior. This is a survival mechanism that was programmed into our species' brain centuries ago through fear. Perfume is a human's ancient biohazard suit, and to understand how it came to be, we must descend into the deepest and darkest pages of biology and history. From an evolutionary perspective, smell is our oldest and most powerful sense. When life was just evolving underwater, organisms had no eyes, no ears, but they had the strength to smell and feel chemicals. The part of your brain that processes smell, the olfactory bulb, is directly connected to your amygdala and hippocampus, the parts of the brain that control your memories and deepest fears. That is why a specific smell can instantly remind you of your childhood, and the smell of blood or rotten meat can instantly force you to vomit or run away. Your brain is so sensitive to rot because for millions of years, rot meant disease, poison, and death. Early humans did not wear perfume. They hunted, sweated, and lived in dust. If they used fragrance, it was not on themselves, but by burning tree resin or frankincense in a fire to talk to gods or spirits. But then, we made the mistake that put our entire biology in crisis. We learned to farm. We left the nomadic life and started settling in one place. We built cities, and a city meant thousands of humans, their animals, and the waste generated by all of them daily in one place. Nature designed our bodies to live in a vast, airy jungle, not in a cramped place where millions of people lived amidst their own filth. As human civilizations grew, the stench increased, but the form of perfume we see today had its real and terrifying birth in the Middle Ages of Europe. To understand the luxury industry of perfume, you must first understand the horrifying truth of how badly Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries stank. Today we bathe daily, but in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, bathing was considered a summons to death. Europe was being devastated by plagues like the Black Death and syphilis. Doctors at the time knew nothing about bacteria or viruses. Their medical theory was called the Miasma Theory. Miasma meant bad or poisonous air. Doctors believed diseases spread not by touch, but by smelling bad odors and rot in the air. And their greatest fear was warm water. Medical science believed that when you bathe in warm water, your pores open up, and through those open holes, the poisonous miasma in the air enters your blood and you die. Therefore, the advice from doctors to everyone, from kings to the common people, was clear. Stay away from water. Keeping oneself covered in a thick layer of dirt, sweat, and grime was considered a medical shield. People believed this layer of grime would protect their bodies from epidemics. Kings, queens, and nobles who wore heavy velvet clothes had not bathed for months or years. Their hair had lice. Their bodies had centuries-old layers of sweat and bacteria, and the stench inside their clothes was so intense that any normal person standing nearby would faint. How to hide this unbearable, horrifying body odor? This is where heavy, thick, and very sharp perfume entered. Queens kept their clothes, their gloves, and their hair soaked in heavy perfume. Perfume was not part of fashion. It was a biological emergency, so they could stand near each other and talk without vomiting. Now, the body odor was hidden, but what about the city they lived in? Today, Paris and London are considered the most romantic cities, but in the 17th century, these cities were literally open sewers. There were no flush toilets in homes. People collected excrement in buckets and threw it out of their windows onto the street every morning. The streets of Paris were not covered in mud, but in a thick layer of human waste, rotten food, and dead animals. In rainy weather, this waste would wash into rivers, and people would drink that same water. In the middle of the city, there were slaughterhouses where hundreds of animals were butchered daily, and their blood and rotten intestines flowed on the streets. The air had such a violent stench that you could almost taste it on your lips. Since people believed this stinking air caused disease, the only way to avoid it was a fragrance that could cut through this stench. Rich people carried pomanders. This was a small, golden or silver lattice ball filled with a thick paste of sharp spices, cloves, cinnamon, and perfume. Whenever a rich person went out, they kept this pomander stuck to their nose so they wouldn't smell the city's rot. This was their oxygen mask. The display of luxury was actually a struggle for survival. Now let's talk about the most terrifying chapter of the history of perfume, the Black Death. The streets were piled with heaps of corpses. Families were dying inside homes, and their bodies would rot there for weeks. The entire continent was ruled by death, rotting flesh, and stench. During this time, the scariest form emerged, the plague doctor. You must have seen their pictures. A long black leather coat, gloves, and a terrifying bird-like beak mask on the face. That long beak mask was not a mimicry of a bird. It was a filter. Inside that long beak were dried rose petals, mint, camphor, cloves, and the sharpest perfumes. Doctors believed that the stench rising from the corpses would enter their lungs and kill them. So, whenever they went near a plague patient, they breathed only through that perfume-filled beak. Think about this contrast. On one side, a human body is rotting from disease. Pus and blood are flowing. There is such a horrible stench of death in the room that the soul shudders. And on the other side, the sweet, enchanting fragrance of roses and jasmine is entering the doctor's lungs. Perfume had become a chemical weapon to defeat death. The scent of perfume was not romance. In that era, if you were smelling sharp roses or camphor in the air, it meant some corpse was rotting nearby. Now, consider the grotesque ingredients. Today, perfumes are made from flowers and synthetic chemicals, but in that era, to suppress the odor of the human body and the city's rot, flowers were not enough. The scent of flowers is very light. It gives up within minutes against the stench of excrement and sweat. They needed something aggressive, something that would stick to clothes and skin for months. And for this, humans chose nature's most grotesque path. They started cutting the glands of animals. The world's oldest and most expensive perfumes used four main things. Musk, which is a secretion extracted from the testicles of a musk deer. Civet, a paste coming from the anal glands of a civet cat. Castoreum, extracted from glands near the genitals of a beaver. And ambergris, which is waste formed in the intestines of a sperm whale that becomes rock-like after floating in the sea for years. Understand this irony and madness. Humans were so disgusted by their own sweat and dirt that to hide it, what did they do? They mixed cat gland paste, whale vomit, and deer sex glands into alcohol and rubbed it on their faces and clothes. Perfumers knew that when these animal gland secretions are highly diluted and mixed with flower extracts, they create a scent that strangely attracts the human brain and completely devours the stench. The rich relied on the stench of animals to hide their own stench, just packed into beautiful glass bottles. Now, fast forward to today's world. Science changed in the 19th and 20th centuries. We discovered the germ theory. We understood that diseases are not spread by smell, but by microscopic bacteria and viruses. Sewer systems were built, plumbing arrived, and homes got flush toilets and showers. Bathing became a daily necessity, not a death summons. Today, you and I are the cleanest, most hygienic, and least smelly humans in history. We bathe daily, apply deodorant, and our clothes are washed in detergent. Technically, we don't need perfume at all today. Our biohazard threat is gone. But did the perfume industry die? No. On the contrary, it played such a psychological game that it turned into a multi-billion-dollar luxury industry. Marketing companies took that ancient mask for stench and death, replaced those grotesque animal glands with synthetic chemicals made in labs, and named it attraction, sex appeal, and status. Today, when a TV ad shows a man applying perfume and all the girls are attracted to him, it is actually hacking the same ancient part of your brain that believes sharp fragrance means this human is clean, safe, and doesn't have the plague. We turned a medical necessity of a bygone era, a workaround to survive a horrifying epidemic, into the most precious gift of Valentine's Day. The liquid that once acted as an umbrella to hide the stench of corpses is now what we use on our date nights to look attractive. Civilization corrupted fear into luxury. We humans have this biggest and strange habit. We take the most terrifying, dirtiest, and horrifying things of our history, put them in beautiful packaging, tie a shiny ribbon on them, and forget what is hidden inside. Perfume is not just a cosmetic product. It is the liquid version of human fear. It is proof that when we decided to live in the concrete of cities in crowds of millions, far from nature, we had made this earth so dirty that we needed an extract of flowers as a filter just to breathe. So, next time you go to an expensive mall, standing in that shiny glass showroom when a salesman sprays a perfume worth 10,000 rupees on a paper strip for you to smell, do enjoy that fragrance, but close your eyes and remember for just one moment where that fragrance came from. That fragrance is not romance. That fragrance is a ghost hovering over the bodies of those millions of unknown people who were consumed by the Black Death. That fragrance belongs to those kings who feared water for years. You are not just wearing a scent on your wrist, you are spraying the most horrifying, dirtiest, and most magnificent lie of human history. And the strangest part, that lie smells very, very good.